Now let's talk about relations in the context of a column collections. Relations will only recompute based on columns that were added before the relation first column in the column collection. Let's see what that actually means. Let's go back to look at our demo and let's run it. And let's also put the customer name on the screen. So let's go to demo columns collection, resize the customer column, duplicate the control, perfect, and place the customer name on our screen. Great. Now, whenever we change the customer name, it will recompute. Perfect. Great, we can see that it automatically recomputes. Now, let's see what that means in terms of the column collection. Let's pause over here. Shift F12. We can look at our code. Let's put it on the side so it will be easy to see them both. And we can see over here that the columns collection has order ID and customer ID from the orders table, order date, end of month, customer ID from the customers table, company name, ship via, etc. So that means that the column from the customer table starts over here. Okay, we can see that by doing customers.columns and then give it an object ID, right click, make object ID, and we'll be able to see their position in the columns collection of our controller. Perfect. Let's also have a look at the relations recompute path. I can go and look at the relations to customers. And just like a local column that had a recompute path, so does the relation to customers. It also had a recompute path, and we can see that it will recompute whenever customer ID from the orders table will change. Now let's break that. Okay, let's make a common mistake that happens a lot for people who are writing code. Let's add columns, add customers.customer ID. So we've added the column from the customer table that comes from the relation before the customer ID from the orders table. And that will cause the relation not to recompute, which means only to recompute when I enter the row, but if I change the value, it will not recompute. So just like bind value can only be recomputed based on columns that were added prior to it in the columns collection, the same concept applies also to relations. So relations will also recompute only based on columns that were defined before them. And when we say was defined before them, we mean before the first time a column from the relation was added. So in this case, the customer ID from the relation was added first, and only later the customer ID column. So its index is 0 and its index is 2. Let's give those two their object ID. So we can see, okay, that customer ID, this one is number 2 in our column collection, and this one is number 0 in our column collection. So we can see how the relation customer ID is defined before the main table customer ID, or the one we wanted to recompute based on. And we can also see that, as we said, using the recompute path that doesn't have any columns in it now, again, because the relation is defined before the columns that affect it. Okay, that we can see over here. Great. So let's go ahead and change that. We're going to take the customer ID and use Alt arrow down to move it down. Now that the customer ID is after the orders customer ID, it will recompute correctly. Perfect. Great.